If you hear any growling sounds, it's my stomach is acting up and my throat is a little bit sore. I haven't really done much with my hair, so that's not what's important. But I want to talk about religion for a moment. You know, religion is not a scientific thing. And, I was just listening to a story of this woman who was talking about how she was abused and how she, went to atheism and then she, went back to faith again and whatever. The point isn't about whether or not, all the things she said were true. I'm sure that her story about being abused is true and her feelings and all of her subjective experiences are true. I don't doubt that. I have no doubt whatsoever about that. But what does it mean? What does it mean? I don't think that's really going to convert anybody. But I think if you, a person who do have a belief in God, it's inspiring. It encourages you and things like that. And if you're somebody who doesn't believe in God, it's just, oh yeah, it's another one of those stories of people talking about something. See, I actually think that in a real sense, people spend so much time trying to change other people. And I think it's a waste of time, one way or the other. It's not about religion. It's not about, God or whatever. I'm always, it's always funny. I'm using this iPad for the first time to record a video and put it up on YouTube. Actually, that's not true. I have recorded videos before and put them up on YouTube using this iPad. But this is the first time I'm making like a serious video because the other ones are more like test. But I'm realizing something. If I turn this thing a certain way, it actually looks different. I would imagine, I don't know if I could in mid-stream turn it and flip it and it will work. If I turn it that way, will it work? Maybe, maybe not. If I turn it this way, we'll see what happens when I, but I'm recording it like this. But the point is that, I'm a person who has a God belief. I'm going to put it that way without going into any complicated details about what that means. But it actually, when somebody tells you something like that, it doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't tell you what to expect from me or what in other words, you can't really use it like you can use a scientific fact. If I told you I had 1 gallon of water, you know what to expect. You can measure it. You can check it. You can look at it. But if I say I believe in God, that doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't even tell you if I'm believing in a God that's, strictly a thing out of a Bible or out of the Quran or any particular thing in a book. And even if I was talking about, the God of the Bible, it still doesn't tell you what really to expect, what to measure, what to look for. It doesn't tell you anything. The phrase, I believe in God, actually is kind of somewhat meaningless, at least in a scientific framework. I think it's important to an individual to themselves, but when you're talking about social things, when you're talking about certain things, it doesn't really have a lot of meaning to it. It doesn't tell you anything. If you really want to get to know people, you got to actually meet people. You got to interact with people. You got to talk to people. And you have to listen to people. When I was listening to that young lady talk, I realized something. That, she seemed like a really good person. And I think that it doesn't matter if she believes in God or not. It's really not important. I actually have said this before, and I know it's kind of somewhat of a controversial issue for both believers and non-believers, that whether or not you believe in God is not really all that important. I think it seems important. If you watch YouTube, you get the impression that it's really important. You think it's important. People always connect things. They say, well, religious people are changing everything, and they're doing this and they're doing that. And, there are a lot of things in this world that we don't know, we don't understand. And I don't mean science stuff. I'm talking just we don't know what exactly is making people behave whatever way they behave. It isn't strictly what's written in holy books. Because if that were the case, everybody would act exactly the same. And they don't. You have so much variation of behavior, even within a church, within a religion, people who are non-religious, whatever. I think that there's a lot of things to be said. Some of the things that people have said, that religion is a pathway to evil behavior. You could say that, but you know what? There's no real evidence that that's true. No real scientific, yes, measurable scientific evidence that proves it's something that people kind of, to put it honestly, people feel it. They feel that that's true. It seems to be true, but seems to be true. and feels true. It's like, it seems like the earth isn't moving, but in fact it's going around the sun at 18 and a half miles a second. Okay? Some things that don't feel like they're happening are. So you can't just use that as a measuring thing. It's just the point I want to make. Sometimes you have to realize it. I mean, I'm not afraid to admit that I actually don't know, and I don't know. And it's okay if I don't know. It's okay to not know. To say, look, I don't know. But I know one thing. I'm not crazy. I'm not stupid. I'm not dumb. And a lot of times I've learned to be careful about saying that I believe in God. Because the first thing people think, that as soon as you say that, you're going to pick up a Bible and start reading verses from it. Or you're going to start trying to convert people or something like that. And it's always a funny thing. It's just all these stereotype ideals. Some people are like that. Some people, they got to preach. And, it's funny. When I'm reading certain books, there are people coming by. And they got to tell me about it. Like, I had this book called Huxley and God. And these, I guess, church-like type people wanted to come by and, they didn't say anything to me, but they were like, oh, Huxley and God. I wonder if he reads about, I guess they didn't know I was standing right by them. I guess they were just looking and trying to figure out, this book is going to take me away from their faith. Different people have different views on things. And some people do feel that it's almost like their duty to sit there and preach and to talk to you and to tell you things. And they have to. It's like, and then there are other people who say, look, it's more private and personal. My belief. It's not something I have to go and preach around and say to everybody. But it's just the way I think. It's the way I look at things. And that's it. That's all I have to say right now.